Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the third and final video for this week, and we're talking about consequentialism. So we talked about trolley problems in the first video, and we talked about deontology, which is a collection of views saying that following the right rules is all that matters in morality. Now we're talking about consequentialism, which is a view sort of opposed to deontology. And consequentialism is the view that it's the consequences or the outcomes of an action that make it moral or immoral. So if an action has good consequences or caused a good outcome, then it was a good action. If an action had a bad outcome or caused bad consequences, then it was a bad action. So morality, right and wrong, good and bad, is just a matter of outcomes. An action that makes things better is morally good. An action that makes things worse is morally bad. And so whether an action is right or wrong will depend solely on what effects the action has. So why you did it or what rules the action followed will not matter. Those will not determine whether the action is right or wrong. All that will matter in the sort of moral value of your action, the final tally of was this morally good that you did it or was it morally bad that you did it? All that will matter is what did the action cause? What effect did that have on the world? Was it good overall or was it bad overall? And that's the end of the story. So consequentialism, as a result, is impartial and impersonal, meaning not partial and not personal. It doesn't care about you, your intentions, your beliefs, what rules you were following, what rules you were trying to follow, if you were trying to follow any rules. None of that matters. It doesn't care about any of that stuff. As long as the end result was good, it doesn't matter how you got there. As long as the end result is good, it doesn't matter how you got there. So in the trolley problems, for example, consequentialism says that when you're in the trolley problem case and you're trying to choose what action to take, you should look at the outcomes of each action. If you do nothing, 5 people die. That is the consequence of you doing nothing. 5 innocent people die. If you pull the lever, or you push the person off the bridge, or you kill the person and harvest their organs, regardless of which one, only 1 person dies. So the outcome of you doing nothing is 5 deaths. 5 innocent people die. The outcome of you pulling the lever, pushing the person, harvesting the organs is 1 innocent person dies. And 5 deaths is a worse outcome than 1 death. It's all else being equal, it's better to have only 1 person die than to have 5 people die. Therefore, you should kill the one to save 5 in all 3 cases, because that has the better outcome. You should kill 1 person to save 5 in every case, because it doesn't matter how you kill the one to save 5, whether you do it by pulling a lever and redirecting a trolley, or by pushing someone off a bridge, or by killing them in a closet in a hospital secretly. Doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the final outcome. How you cause this 1 person to die does not change the final outcome, because it doesn't change how many people live or die. If you kill the 1 person by whatever means, then only 1 person dies. If you do nothing, then 5 people die, and that's a worse outcome. So you should kill the one to save 5, according to most consequentialist views. So there are different versions of consequentialism, but that's sort of the standard consequentialist answers. The outcome's all that matters. So things that matter to consequentialism are outcomes, That's the end of that list. Consequences and outcomes are the same thing. Those are synonyms. So it's just outcomes. Stuff that doesn't matter is intentions. Your intentions don't matter. What you're trying to do or what you want to do doesn't affect how good or bad the action was. What rules you were following or trying to follow doesn't affect how good or bad the action was. Who's doing the action doesn't affect it. So if you do it or someone else does it, if you doing it would, if you, let's say, pulling the lever would make you a hypocrite because you've been giving lectures or going on rants about how you should never pull the lever, the fact that it would make you a hypocrite doesn't give you any reason not to do it. The fact that you doing it makes you a hypocrite, but someone else doing it doesn't make them a hypocrite, doesn't affect it at all. Who's doing the action or what they've done in the past does not change what the correct action is in this case. Why you did the action doesn't matter. What reasons you had for it, that doesn't determine whether the action was good or bad overall. All that affects whether you were doing something morally good or doing something morally bad is, did the outcomes turn out good or did the outcomes turn out bad? That's it. So being a consequentialist means that thinking that consequences are all that matter in morality. It just means thinking that consequences are all that matter in morality. But it doesn't by itself tell you which consequences are the good ones that you should try to bring about and which consequences are the bad ones that would make your action morally bad or morally wrong. Different answers to that question will give you different forms of consequentialism. And that's why not all consequentialists have to say that you should always kill the one to save five in every case, because how you measure each outcome can change from one form of consequentialism to another. It might not just be counting the number of living people left, the way I kind of assumed it was when I was talking about it a few slides ago. But the most common form of consequentialism, by a pretty wide margin, is utilitarianism, which is a very particular form of consequentialism that only cares about one outcome: the total happiness produced by the action. How much happiness did the action produce in the world? Is the global total amount of happiness higher, lower, or the same? That's it. You should do whatever will bring about the highest total amount of happiness. And so the end always justifies the means, according to utilitarianism, as long as the end in question is producing the greatest total happiness. And that's why utilitarians tend to say that you should always kill the one to save five in the trolley problem cases. Because all else being equal, assuming that all 6 people on the tracks have the same capacity for future happiness, then 5 people surviving will experience collectively more happiness than just the one person will if they survive. 5 people on average will experience about 5 times as much happiness throughout the course of their lives as one person, because there are 5 of them. And all else being equal, everyone will experience roughly the same amount of happiness. So you should kill one to save 5, because the loss of that one person's future happiness, which won't occur in the world because they'll be dead, and you can't be happy if you're dead, that loss of happiness is more than compensated by the added happiness of these 5 people who were going to die but will now survive and live on to experience, each of them will live on to experience happiness, a roughly normal amount. And so you'll have more total happiness in the world if you kill the one and save the 5. And so it is morally right to kill the one to save the 5. That's the utilitarian view. And we'll talk more about utilitarianism next week. Next week, we're going to talk about why you should be utilitarian and why you shouldn't. We'll look at arguments for utilitarianism that say, like, this concept of uh, greatest total happiness being all that matters to morality, why that seems good, why that seems right. And then we'll look at some thought experiments that are supposed to be objections that try to argue that utilitarianism is definitely wrong. Uh, so we will look at those next week. In the meantime, let me know if you have any questions about any of these 3 videos or about the readings or about the weekly assignment or anything like that. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the videos next week.